something happened this week that ARMY has been waiting years for, and if you skip this video, you're going to miss the details behind it. On Tuesday, MTV dropped the full nominee list for the 2026 Video Music Awards, and sitting right there in the single biggest category of the night, Song of the Year, is BTS. Not Best K-Pop, not some side category built specifically for Korean acts. Song of the Year, the same category as Madonna, the same category as global pop royalty, and standing directly across from them in that exact category is a group that isn't even human, HUNTR/X, the fictional girl group from Netflix's animated film K-pop Demon Hunters, whose song Golden turned into one of the biggest cultural moments of the last 2 years. So today we are breaking down exactly what BTS and Jimin are up against, why this nomination is a much bigger deal than it looks on the surface, and whether they actually have a real shot at winning. Stick around, because by the end of this video you will understand exactly why this category might be the single most unpredictable race at the entire show, and why this moment matters so much for BTS's story. Let's start with the facts, because there's a lot of noise online right now, and we want you walking away from this video actually informed, not just hyped. On August 18th, MTV officially announced the complete nominee list for the 2026 MTV Video Music Awards. The ceremony itself is happening Sunday, September 27th, live from the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles, airing on CBS and MTV, and streaming on Paramount+. This is actually the first time in almost a decade that the VMAs are being held in the LA area, so the entire show is already carrying a different kind of energy heading into it. Leading the nominations overall is Madonna, with 11 nods, including Video of the Year and Artist of the Year. Right behind her, Taylor Swift, with 9 nominations of her own. But buried inside that massive list of categories, BTS's name shows up twice, and in 2 very different, very important places. First, in Song of the Year, for their single Swim, and second, in Best K-Pop, for that same track. 2 nominations, 1 song, and honestly, one of them is a much bigger deal than most people realize right now. Let's talk about Song of the Year first, because this is the nomination that actually matters the most. Since 2019, the VMAs have had a category specifically labeled Best K-Pop, and for years, that was basically the only door Korean acts could walk through at this show. You could be topping the Billboard Hot 100, selling out stadiums, doing everything an American pop star does at the highest level, and the VMAs would still put you in a separate lane, away from the actual main event categories. That is exactly why this year is different. Swim, the lead single off BTS's comeback album ARIRANG, is nominated for Song of the Year, the same top-tier category as some of the biggest releases of the entire year. This is the first time BTS specifically has ever received a Song of the Year nomination at the VMAs. Not Best K-Pop, Song of the Year. Full stop. And they are not alone in that category either. Also nominated is Golden, the breakout single by HUNTR/X, performed by EJE, Audrey Nuna and REIMI. So for the first time, 2 acts with deep roots in Korean pop culture are going head-to-head for one of the 2 or 3 most prestigious awards of the entire ceremony. Rounding out the category, you have got Ella Langley with Chosin, Texas, Madonna and Sabrina Carpenter teaming up on Bring Your Love, Olivia Dean with Man I Need, Pink Pantheress linking up with Zara Larsson on Stateside, and RAY with Where Is My Husband? That is the full lineup. 7 songs, 1 trophy, and BTS is standing right in the middle of it. Now if you are newer here and you are wondering exactly who HUNTR/X is, do not worry, we have got you covered. HUNTR/X is not a real band in the traditional sense. They are the fictional girl group at the center of K-pop Demon Hunters, the Netflix animated film that dropped in 2025 and completely exploded, way beyond anything anyone expected from an animated K-pop movie. Voiced and sung by EJE, Audrey Nuna, and REIMI, their in-movie anthem, Golden, did not just do well inside the context of the film, it became a legitimate real-world chart phenomenon. It is the kind of crossover hit that pulled in people who had never listened to a single actual K-pop song in their lives, people who do not follow idols, do not know a single BTS member by name, but somehow still know every word of that song. So when we say BTS is facing HUNTR/X at the VMAs, understand what that actually means. We are not talking about some small underdog nominee filling out the ballot. We're talking about arguably the single biggest cultural export connected to K-pop-inspired storytelling in the last 2 years, going up directly against arguably the single biggest actual K-pop group of the last decade. This is genuinely one of the most fascinating matchups on the entire ballot this year, and it is happening in the exact same category as Madonna. Let that sink in for a second. Okay, now let's move over to the second nomination, Best K-pop, because this one comes with a twist that a lot of ARMY might not even know about yet. In this category, Swim is up against Blackpink's Jump, Cordis with Redread, Cat's Eye's Pinky Up, and Lisa's Dream, featuring Kentaro Sakaguchi. But here is the part that is going to make you do a double take. Also nominated in this exact same category is Elise Seraphim's Spaghetti, featuring J-Hope. That is right. 2 BTS members are technically represented in the Best K-pop category this year. BTS is a full group with Swim, and J-Hope individually through his feature on Spaghetti. So depending on how you count it, this is actually one of BTS's strongest overall showings at the VMAs in years, spread across 2 different songs and 2 different categories. And here's a detail worth sitting with for a second. This year, no K-pop act, none at all, is nominated in Video of the Year or Artist of the Year, the 2 single biggest categories of the entire night. Which makes BTS's Song of the Year nomination hit even harder, because right now, in this specific moment, they are the only Korean act breaking into that top tier at all. Let's talk history for a second, because context matters here more than people think. BTS is not new to the VMAs. They actually won Best K-pop 3 years in a row, back in 2019, 2020, and 2021, for Boy With Love, On, and Butter. That run ties them with Lisa for the most Best K-pop wins in the category's entire history since it was created. Stray Kids broke that streak in 2023 with S-Class. And Lisa has won it 3 separate times since the category began, most recently in 2025, making her the only artist in the awards history to win Best K-pop every single year she has been nominated for it. So the category has genuinely gone through different eras, different champions, and right now, BTS is walking back into it as the group trying to reclaim ground they once completely owned. But since then, the wins have dried up for the group. Last year, at the 2025 VMAs, Jimin was nominated solo in the Best K-pop category for a single Who. He did not win. Lisa took the trophy home for Born Again, her collaboration with Doja Cat and RAYE, marking her 3rd win in that category. And honestly, that loss stung for a lot of ARMY, especially because J-Hope's critically acclaimed Mona Lisa was not even nominated that year, despite technically being eligible for it. So there was real frustration heading into this current awards season, a sense that BTS kept getting boxed into one lane while other acts got to compete everywhere. Which is exactly what makes this year hit so differently. This is not just BTS showing up in the same old category again. This is BTS breaking out of that lane entirely and landing in Song of the Year for the first time in the group's history. After years of fans and critics saying K-pop gets sorted into its own box and never gets a real shot at the big prizes, BTS is now standing in the big category, competing directly against Madonna's collaborator, against the reigning Academy of Country Music Song of the Year winner, against a Netflix phenomenon that has taken over the internet. That is not a small thing. That is the exact conversation ARMY has been having for years, finally showing up in an actual official nominee list. And it is worth remembering, Swim earned this spot the hard way, through actual numbers, not just goodwill. The track debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, giving BTS their 7th chart-topping single. It held the top spot on Spotify's Daily Top Songs global chart for 6 straight days after release. The parent album, ARIRANG, debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 and became the group's first full-length to hold that spot for multiple weeks, while also posting the biggest first-week sales for a group since Billboard began tracking streaming era numbers back in 2014. 13 out of 14 tracks off that album landed on the Hot 100 in the same week, an achievement almost no other act has ever pulled off. So when people ask whether BTS actually deserves this nomination, the answer is sitting right there in the chart data. This was not a sympathy nod. This was earned. And this is not happening in a vacuum either. The ARIRANG World Tour, which kicked off back in April, has been breaking records of its own across 3 different continents, with tickets in South Korea, North America, and Europe selling out within hours of going on sale. This is a group that just came back from a 4-year hiatus while every member completed mandatory military service, and instead of easing back in, they came back swinging, straight to number 1, straight into stadiums, straight into award shows they had not stepped foot in for years. That context matters when you look at this nomination because it is not an isolated headline. It is one more data point in what is shaping up to be BTS's single biggest comeback year, arguably ever. Now here is where things get even more interesting, because this VMA nomination comes right on the heels of a completely different award show story. Just weeks before this announcement, BTS made headlines by pulling their album ARIRANG out of Grammy contention entirely. The Recording Academy had introduced a brand new category called Best Asian Pop Music Performance, and a lot of fans and critics saw it as a way to reward BTS with a trophy without ever actually letting them compete in the Grammys' biggest, most mainstream categories. BTS's response was to withdraw ARIRANG from consideration altogether, in what read as a clear statement against being sorted into a side category instead of competing for real against everyone else in the categories that actually matter. So here is the contrast that makes this VMA nomination so interesting to sit with. At the Grammys, BTS essentially said, "We are not interested in a category that feels like a consolation prize dressed up as recognition." At the VMAs, less than a month later, they land directly in Song of the Year, the actual top category, no side door required this time. Whether the timing is a coincidence or not, the optics are hard to ignore. One award show offered them a smaller, separate room. Another one put them straight into the main event. Let's bring this back to Jimin specifically, because 2026 has genuinely been one of his biggest years, yet as part of this group. Swim is not a solo song, it is credited to BTS as a full group, but Jimin has been front and center through this entire era. Back in May, at the American Music Awards, BTS took home Song of the Summer for Swim, plus Best Male K-Pop Artist and the night's biggest prize, Artist of the Year. During that ceremony, Jimin actually went viral again for a small, very Jimin moment, when he shared an edited version of the group's Artist of the Year winner card, swapping the band's name out for ARMY's, basically pointing the credit straight back at the fans who got them there. That is the kind of detail that shows exactly why ARMY connects with him the way they do. He has been part of the historic FIFA World Cup halftime show this year, co-headlining alongside Shakira and Madonna, part of the massive ARIRANG World Tour that is currently rolling through stadiums across multiple continents, and now, part of a group standing in Song of the Year at the VMAs for the very first time in their career. Last year it was Jimin, solo, sitting in Best K-Pop, watching Lisa take the trophy home. This year, it is BTS as a full 7-member unit, competing in the single biggest category of the night. If you have been following his era closely, this genuinely feels like a full circle moment. Think about the timeline for a second. Jimin spent 2024 and early 2025 focused almost entirely on his solo era, releasing his own music, earning his own individual nomination at last year's VMAs, and carrying a lot of that solo momentum on his own shoulders. Then the group reunited, dropped ARIRANG together, and suddenly he is not standing alone in a category anymore. He is standing shoulder to shoulder with 6 other members in a bigger room with a bigger trophy on the line. That shift, from solo nominee to part of a group breaking new ground together, is exactly the kind of arc that makes this particular award season worth actually paying attention to, instead of just skimming the headlines. So, real talk, can they actually win this thing? Let's break down the competition honestly, because we are not here to just hype you up with nothing behind it. Song of the Year at the VMAs is fan-voted, which means this category comes down almost entirely to who actually shows up and votes, not just chart numbers or critical acclaim alone. That works in BTS's favor in a huge way, because ARMY has one of the most organized, most consistent voting fan bases in the entire music industry, and we have watched it play out before, in Group of the Year wins, in Best K-Pop wins, over and over again across the years. But this year, the competition is not some random song nobody has heard of. HUNTR/X's Golden has crossover reach that goes way beyond typical K-pop voting circles, because it pulled in casual Netflix viewers who do not consider themselves K-pop fans at all, but still know every word of that song by heart. Madonna and Sabrina Carpenter combining two massive, extremely online fanbases into one single entry is nothing to overlook either. And Ella Langley's Houston, Texas, already has serious institutional momentum behind it, since it just won Song of the Year at the Academy of Country Music Awards earlier this year, meaning country fans are showing up hard for that one too. This is genuinely one of the most competitive Song of the Year lineups in recent VMA history, and there is no obvious frontrunner sitting on top of it, which honestly makes it more exciting to watch play out, not less. Over in Best K-pop, the field is just as loaded. Blackpink's Jump arrives as part of the group's 10th anniversary era, carrying a lot of institutional weight behind it. Cordis is one of Bigot Music's newest rookie groups, meaning a BTS label mate is sitting in the same category this year. Cat's Eye has been building serious mainstream momentum in the US market with Pinky Up, and Lisa picks up her 4th nomination of the night across multiple categories, arriving as the reigning 3-time Best K-pop champion, and the only artist ever to win this specific award every single time she has been nominated for it. That last stat alone should tell you how tough this category actually is. BTS is not just trying to reclaim a title they used to dominate, they are trying to take it back from the most successful artist the category has ever seen. And this is exactly where you come in, because fan voting is open right now at vote.mtv.com, and it stays open through September 25th, just 2 days before the actual ceremony airs live. If you want BTS and Jimin walking into that room with real momentum behind them, this is the moment that actually matters, way more than anything happening on the night of the show itself. Drop a comment down below with your honest prediction. Do you think Swim takes Song of the Year outright? Does Best K-pop finally come back home to BTS after that painful loss last year? Or does HUNTR/X pull off the win that half the internet has already been talking about since this movie blew up? We genuinely want to know what you think, so scroll down and tell us right now before you forget. And if you know another ARMY who has not seen this breakdown yet, send it their way, because the more people who actually understand what is on the line here, the more this conversation spreads past the usual K-pop corners of the internet and into the mainstream, which, honestly, is exactly where this story belongs right now. As for what to actually expect on the night itself, MTV has not yet confirmed the performer lineup or presenters for this show, so anything circulating online right now claiming BTS is confirmed to perform should be treated as speculation until MTV makes it official. What we do know for certain is the category lineups, the voting window, and the date. What we do not know yet is who takes the stage, and that list usually gets revealed in waves over the coming weeks leading up to the show. So if that is the update you are waiting for, this channel will have it the moment it drops. It is also worth pointing out just how loaded the rest of this ballot is outside the 2 categories we care about most. Madonna's 11 nominations mark the first time she has led VMA nominations since 1998, pulling in nods across Video of the Year, Artist of the Year, Song of the Year, and a stack of technical categories for her Confessions 2 era. Taylor Swift trails close behind with 9 nominations of her own, tied to the fate of Ophelia. So BTS is not just competing against individual songs in their own categories, they are competing on a ballot where 2 of the biggest pop icons in modern history are simultaneously having some of the strongest nomination years of their careers. Making it into Song of the Year on a ballot the stacked is its own kind of statement, regardless of what happens on the actual night. So here's exactly where things stand heading into September 27th. BTS has 2 nominations this year. Swim, in Song of the Year, marking the first time in the group's entire history they have broken into that top-tier category. And Swim, again in Best K-pop, standing alongside J-Hope's feature on Ellie Seraphim's Spaghetti. No K-pop act made it into Video of the Year or Artist of the Year this year, which makes BTS the only Korean group currently standing in that main event conversation at all. They are up against Madonna, Pink Pantheress, RAYE, Ella Langley's country juggernaut, Lisa's flawless Best K-pop track record, and HUNTR/X, the Netflix phenomenon that is quite literally redefining what a K-pop crossover hit can even look like in 2026. It is a real race, with real competition, and honestly, no guaranteed outcome sitting on either side of it. Whatever happens on the actual night, this nomination alone already means something on its own. BTS just broke into a category that was basically off limits to K-pop acts for years, and Jimin has been standing at the center of that entire journey through this whole ARIRANG era. If this video gave you the full, accurate picture of what is actually happening here, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button right now, because we are covering this story all the way through to the ceremony on September 27th, including the actual results the second they happen live. Turn on notifications so you do not miss the follow-up. Drop your prediction down in the comments, and we will see you in the next one.